We got sound now. Check, 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 check. Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Seminole Bob and Irish Bill. Sound check. There we go. Loose cable.
Loose cable. Loose lips sink ships.
I just getting ready to say that. You're watching Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We had a loose cable there. Sorry about that delay there, folks. Navarre Gulf Breeze coming up this Friday night, and should be a good game as it always is when those two teams meet. Bob.
Yeah, and as it usually is, it's senior night for Navarre. 20-something, 22 seniors, Bill, something like that.
Well, let's go over the roster sheet here real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And, just a huge matchup every year. And with Tate's upset being beaten by Gulf Breeze, it sets up a situation where Gulf Breeze, even with a 3-5 record, has put themselves back in the saddle again, so to speak. There, very well could get in the playoffs with an upset of Navarre. We're not going to talk about that, but
20 seniors.
20 seniors.
So we're going to talk more about that tomorrow night. And once again, sorry for the delay there. We had a loose wire on our sound, but we are good to go now. Thank you all for being patient with us. We're going to talk about this Friday night's game, but we're going to tell you what happened last Friday night first. Freeport Baker, what a tight game, 43-42. Freeport prevailed. Childs 49, Ambassadors Christian 0, Choctaw 49, Booker T. Washington 0. Those were all Thursday night games. Friday night games, Fort Walton Beach 35-0 over Bay. Pine Forest 14, Escambia 7 in a defensive slugfest. Niceville, not so much a defensive slugfest. Niceville 62, Leon 7. Crestview 49, Milton 22. Catholic 42, Monroe Day 7. Destin in overtime over Hilliard 20-19. 7-win season for the Sharks. First ever in school history. Navarre in a tight one over Pace 25-24. We already talked about the Gulf Breeze 27-20 win over Tate. Bluntstown over Northview 18-7. Bozeman over Chipley 25-24. That score sounded familiar. Jay over Lighthouse PCA 42-8. Lincoln all over Arnold. Arnold gets shut out again, 63-0. Walton over Gadsden County, 43-42 in double overtime. So the Braves stay unbeaten as they go forward against 0-8 Pensacola this week. They should go to 9-0. North Bay Haven 45, Graceville 26. Florida High all over Rickards 43-13. Wakulla over North Florida Christian 42-21. Vernon over Jefferson County, 43-30. Cottondale over Patola Charter, 44-6. Holmes County over Liberty County, 41-0. Madison County over Oak Leaf, 29-16. Mariana over Pike Liberal Arts, 43-14. Port St. Joe in a shutout over Franklin County. The Seahawks wins continue to not mount. They're 0-9 on the season. Weewa 26, FAMU 20. Osceola Christian 31, Bell 14. St. John Paul II 55, St. John Paul II Boca 0. Zephyr Hills over Christian over McClay 14-7 on Saturday. And St. John Paul II came back and played last night as well.
Good gravy.
And as they beat Taylor County in a makeup game from earlier in the season due to weather, and 26-7. Your open weeks were Mosley, Pensacola, Rutherford, Sneeds, South Walton, and West Florida. But once again, you are watching Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Sorry for the delay there, folks. It's always a loose wire somewhere, whether it's you or I or one of the loose wires. We got to go back and now we're not going to play the music. They would have heard it at the beginning, and I would make sure all of my stuff was in tightly. We would have been okay.
Stuff.
Last week, Paul had the best record. He missed one. Paul's been doing his homework. He went 26-1. I went 25-2. Then Joe and Bob went 24-3, which is still not bad. It's 89%.
Right.
But Paul went 96.5%.
Well, every now and then the squirrel finds a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then.
On the season, I get a game closer to Joe. Joe's still leading at 179-51 for 77.8%. 176.54, 76.5%. Bob is 167-63. He's kind of bringing up the rear.
I'm the caboose.
You are. Every train needs a caboose, doesn't it?
That's right.
And then Paul is started late, but he's at 80%, but he's only picked 105 games. He's 84-21.
Still not bad.
So here is our picks for this week.
Got some great games.
Drum roll, please. Be nice to Paul, she said. Okay. If it was anybody else than Deborah asking, we would not.
Yeah. Well,
we would not called him cue ball. Just kidding. No, we love Paul. In fact, Paul will be on the show tomorrow night filling in for my partner. He's got the school union meeting tomorrow night. So
yep, contract meeting, and So
Bob will be his replacement will be Paul Villanova tomorrow night, and we'll have Coach Hemi, the running backs coach, at Navarre High, and more likely we'll have Connor Matthews on as well. Connor over the season, 1,043 yards the first 8 games, joining some very high company in Navarre history, and we still got a couple of games in the regular season to go, and. So he should keep adding on to that.
We met, of course, we've met Lieutenant Colonel Matthews and his wife before, but we met his grandparents from New York. We're at the game, and we're listening in the stadium at the game. We met them afterwards. They helped us put away the stuff. Very pleasant folks, and so...
Just to let you all know, tonight's show almost was canceled. There's a reason why. Yesterday, I got to tell my story so that people know why if I'm a little off kilter tonight, this is the reason why. I went in yesterday morning to get a crown replaced. As I get in there, and of course, it's Monday morning. Everything happens on Monday morning. And so he's in there digging around and takes more x-rays. He said, "Bill, no crown today." I said, "Okay."
You said, "Oh, dear."
"Oh, dear." He said, "We got 2 options." We know usually when you got 2 options, he's like, neither one of them are very good. But anyways, he goes, "Well, we could do a root canal, but there's no guarantees that it will take. Or the other option is to have the tooth pulled." So the lesser of 2 evils, I said, "Go ahead and take it, Doc. I can take it." Well, that's what I thought. Until I got home, and, it decided to the next 24 hours was not very good to me. Well, it wouldn't clot. So I wake up this morning. I'm not going to describe the yeah, and
weeped.
Just say we had to clean the bed sheets this morning because it was not a good night. Well, I get back in this morning. I tried the old tea bags because they say tea bags, what's in the tea, helps clot.
The tannin. Yep.
Yeah. So I tried that. Got in to see the dentist this morning, and he said it's starting to clot. So, but I took 2 sick days from work, and just kind of relaxed today and trying to get back on track here. So there was some blood lost.
It's kind of a remake of The Godfather. He wakes up with the head, with the horse's head.
I gotta.
Paisano.
Well, anyways, we're here, and it's time for our picks.
It is. Let's
Friday
do it.
night games, no Thursday night games as I'm aware of right now. Maclay at Rocky Bayou. We're split right here. Joe and I are taking Maclay. You both are taking the Knights. I say good night to your pick. So we're split there. Let's go to Madison County at Chiefland. Not split here. This is a PB&J pick. What that means is we all pick the same team.
Yep.
Madison County at Chiefland. We're all taking the Cowboys on the road. Also, the next one's all going with Wakulla. And a final district matchup at Sewanee. Unfortunately, the War Eagles playing too darn good at football this year. So we're all going with the War Eagles in that one. Monroe Day at North Florida Christian. All going with the home team, North Florida Christian. Baker at Pike Liberal Arts. Joe going with Baker. The rest of us going with Pike Liberal Arts. Gadsden County at Godby. We're all going with the road team in that one. FAMU at St. John Paul II. Not a favorable matchup for the Baby Rattlers.
3 games in, a span of a week?
Yeah, and 8 days, 3 games.
Jeez.
Chipley at Taylor County. We're all going with the Tigers in that one. Florida High at Mariana. Bob, Joe, and I are taking Florida High, and Paul is taking Mariana.
That's a district contest, too.
It is. Jefferson County at Lafayette. We're all going with Lafayette. Flint River, Georgia at Osceola Christian. We're split here. Joe and I are going with Flint River, Georgia. Both teams are 8-0.
Right.
And I looked at the numbers that Flint River has put up, and it's you got the numbers there for me, Bob?
No. I just don't know the quality of who they played. It was really a toss-up. They're in Woodbury, Georgia, and I have no idea where that's at, as our geographic cruise through Georgia continues. I going with Osceola. Like you said, they're both 8-0. And based on, I just don't know the strength of the teams that Flint River has played. I know the strength of the teams Osceola has played.
Katie Hoffman checked in. Good to see you on there, Katie. I think that's the first time that she's checked in for one of our games. Yeah, you got to take those teeth issues very serious. Well, let's get back to our Bluntstown at Liberty County. We're all going with Bluntstown on the road. Port St. Joe at Sneeds, down here for the Sneeds. We're all going with the Tiger Sharks. Tate at Escambia. Gators fresh off a tough loss at Pine Forest. Not this week, though. We're all going with the Gators. A Choctaw at Fort Walton Beach. Fort Walton Beach has been playing well, 5-3 on the season.
Yep.
But we're all going to go with the Indians on the road. Niceville at Mosley, the last district matchup for these two teams. If Mosley upsets them, we have a tie at the top. Both teams will be 3-1 in district play.
And the third team being
Fort Walton Beach, I believe, is already played out. They're 2-2.
Yeah.
So, but
if
Mosley wins, that's the only we'll have a. Mosley would get the nod because they beat Niceville head to head. But if Niceville wins, they finish 4-0 and they win the district outright.
Choctaw and Fort Walton are a district game, correct? You have a star next to it. I have Fort Walton at 1-2.
Let me pull I got the. Here we go. Yes, that is a district matchup.
Choctaw is 3-0 in district.
Yeah.
Are they in the same district as Niceville?
No, they are in the same district with Pine Forest, Escambia, Fort Walton, and Washington.
Okay.
But Niceville and Mosley. Niceville 7-1 overall, Mosley 5-3, but Mosley is 2-1 in district, and they are playing at Mosley tomorrow Friday night against Niceville. So,
well, that's an unusual game.
So,
a Mosley Friday night game.
No, what's even rarer is the Niceville road game.
Oh, yes, right. They're only second one all year. Boy, what a tough one to be on the road.
Yeah, and Mosley is they play a lot better at home than they do on the road, even though they gave Navarre all they wanted on the road. That should be a great matchup on Friday night for all the marbles in Class 4S District 2. We left off, I believe, there at Crestview at Leon. Joe going with Crestview on the road. The rest of us going with Leon. Childs at Lincoln. Lincoln playing really solid ball. They've are the only. You okay?
Yeah, I was just straight. We're crooked.
Or a little. That's not the first time.
Yeah, there you go.
Bay at Rutherford. We're split here. Joe and Bob are going with Bay. Paul and I are going with Rutherford. We're all going with Rickards over Arnold, as Arnold has only scored in one game this year. Them and Pensacola have the same thing in common. They both scored in only one game this year. We
They play on the blue turf.
Yeah, we'll creep back to Milton at Pace. Always a big rivalry game, but I think Pace has them a little outmatched this year. We're all going with the Patriots there. Gulf Breeze at Navarre. The whole team's taking the Raiders at home and a chance to win the 7th district title for Coach Walls in 12 years. And Catholic at West Florida. Paul going with West Florida. The rest of us going with Catholic. Pine Forest overmatched over Washington on the road. Walton at Pensacola, probably the biggest mismatch of the year. 16-game difference, 8-0 Walton, 0-8 Pensacola High. North Bay Haven at South Walton, we're all going with the Seahawks. Bozeman still unbeaten, but they're going against a very
strong,
highly octaned offense of Holmes County. We're split here. Bob and I are going with Holmes County. Joe and Paul are going with Bozeman. Cottondale at Vernon. Joe going with Vernon. The rest of us with Cottondale. And Freeport at Graceville. All of us going with the Bulldogs in that one. They are the Bulldogs, right?
Yep.
And Jay at Weewa Hitchcock. Paul taking Weewa, and the rest of us are taking the Royals of Jay High.
He likes Weewa now.
Well, he's a Gators fan. What? Let's see. He picked Baker. He picked Weewa. And he picked Escambia. What do they all have in common? They're all Gators.
He picked the same as I did.
They're all Gators.
Yes, they are.
And I'm not sure if, well, we'll see if he picks a 4th Gators team this weekend as they take on Georgia. I think that will end. But there's your high school picks. Your open weeks this week, Destin, Franklin County, and Northview. Let's go on over to our college picks real quick. Last week, 3 of us went 19-6. And that one that didn't was Paul. He went 18-7, so a 3-way tie for the most wins last week on the season. I have taken the lead. 175-34. Bob at 173-34. Tied with Joe, 173-34. Those are 83.5%. And Paul at 71-29. That's very easy because that's 100 games, so I know that's 71%.
Didn't have to take off your shoes.
I did not. So let's get to our college games. We're going to have one Thursday night game, and the rest of them are on Saturday. 25 picks in all. Thursday night game, Syracuse at Virginia Tech. The Hokies are favored by 3, I believe.
That's what you had.
And I know I made it easy on you guys this week, didn't I? No? Yes?
Yeah.
Maybe so?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Syracuse at Virginia Tech. Paul's the only one going for the orange on the road. Indiana at Penn State. Number 10, Penn State at 30.5-point favorite. Paul's taking the Hoosiers. He must not watch much college football.
Must not. That's a noon kick on CBS.
Indiana is the worst team in the Big Ten, playing probably the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. That's a total mismatch. There's one loss for Paul. We can pretty much put it on the board. Yes. Okay. Number 4, Florida State at Wake Forest. 19-point favorite on the road are the Seminoles, and we're all going with your Seminoles.
Noon kick on ABC. Wake Forest, Bill, gives us fits at Wake Forest.
Number 6, Oklahoma at Kansas, and all of us going with Oklahoma on the road. They're a 10.5-point favorite. Houston at Kansas State, all going with the Wildcats on the road, a 16-point favorite on the road. Actually, they're at home. Clemson at North Carolina State, a lackluster performance by Clemson last year.
Wow.
The play call last week was kind of off. In that game, though, they played University of Miami, and quarterback Milton grad Emory Williams got his first start for Miami last Saturday night, and they won in double overtime over Clemson. And But this week, Clemson's going to North Carolina State. They're 11-point favorites. We're all going with the Tigers on the road. Number 1, Georgia versus Florida in the largest outdoor cocktail party, even though they don't want to call that anymore. We don't care. We're not political here. They're still the largest outdoor cocktail party there.
It's in Jacksonville, of course. 3:30 kick on CBS.
And we're all going with the Bulldogs. No Florida pick for you there, Pick Wizard. In fact, Virginia at Miami, our next game, 17.5-point favor. Virginia upsets North Carolina last week.
Wow.
They will not beat Miami this week. None of us are taking Virginia on the road. Number 20, Duke at number 18, Louisville. Paul's the only one taking Duke. Pitt at number 14, Notre Dame. We're all going with the Irish at home. Mississippi State at Auburn. Paul's going with a lot of upsets. He's taking Mississippi State. Auburn's a 4.5-point favorite. We're the rest of us going with the Tigers. BYU at Texas minus their starting quarterback for Texas. So we may the backup in that game will be one Arch Manning.
Yes.
So we may get to see him first time on the season. Number 8, we're all going with Texas in that one. Number 8, Oregon at number 13, Utah. 3 of us going with the Ducks. Bob's going with the Utes, playing good football right now.
They did. They really beat a good USC team, or maybe not a good USC team.
You got that. After Notre Dame put a hurting on them. Number 22, Tulane at Rice. We're all going with Tulane. Rice put a thumping on their opponent last week, which none of us picked. We had all of us took Tulsa last week, and Rice won 42-10.
Ooh.
So no Rice-a-roni this week.
Yep.
Number 24, USC at California, all going with the Trojans on the road. Tennessee, number 21 at Kentucky. Paul going with the Wildcats. The rest of us going with the Vols.
I almost picked Kentucky. You see on my sheet, I scratched it out. It's at home at Kentucky. It's a 7 p.m. kick on ESPN. I just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, so we're all going with, 3 of us are going with Tennessee. One's going with Kentucky.
Who's that?
Paul.
Oh, okay.
Number 19, Air Force, looking to stay unbeaten at Colorado State. Colorado State lost a tough one last week to UNLV, 25-23. We're all going with the Air Force Flying Falcons in this one.
Flying Falcons.
And number 5, Washington, even though they struggled last week against Arizona State, they're going to Stanford at 26.5-point favorite. We're all going with the Huskies in that one.
Huskies, yes. 7 p.m. kick on FS1.
Vanderbilt at number 12, Ole Miss. Shouldn't be much of a game there. 24.5-point spread. All going with Ole Miss. Ohio State, number 3 at Wisconsin. Wisconsin had to do everything to come back and beat Illinois last week. They're playing with their backup quarterback. All of us going with the Buckeyes there.
But the spread, Bill, is only 13.5. Does that surprise you?
No, because at Wisconsin, and Wisconsin usually plays them pretty tough at home. So that doesn't surprise me. In fact, I think Wisconsin might even beat the spread in that one. But we're all going with Ohio State. Colorado at number 3, 23 UCLA. We're all going with the Bruins, playing really good football the last 4 or 5 weeks. Number 17, North Carolina, did not play good football last week against Virginia. Probably the bottom of the ACC. And but we all have them get back on a winning track at Georgia Tech as their 11.5-point favorite this week. Old Dominion at number 25, James Madison. All going. What's James Madison's? What's their mascot, Bob?
The Dukes.
That's right. Really?
8 p.m. game on ESPN U.
You. What about you?
What about Smooth?
And no, they're not our picks this week. Next we go to number 11, Oregon State at Arizona. All 3 of us are going with Oregon State. The other one is Paul going with Arizona in the upset. Paul looking to
get back into things.
He is looking to get back into things. And then Washington State at Arizona State. And this is my upset of the week.
Arizona
you,
played pretty
Bob,
well.
and Joe went with Washington State. I'm going with the Sun Devils.
8 p.m. kick on the Pac-12 After Dark network. Good luck trying to watch that game, Bill.
I'll probably be in bed by then. I've been getting to bed a lot early on Saturdays after my Friday nights and early Saturday mornings. Takes a lot out of you.
What are you doing Saturday morning, Bill?
We have the Southern Gentleman Sports Show every, especially with Alabama being off. We'll get to four hours this week. From 8 to noon every Saturday on 103.7 in Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island area, 97.1 in Pensacola. We are sportsradio.com. And we talk college football. We do it every week, 52 weeks a year from 8 to noon.
And the personalities are?
We have no personality. No. Georgia Dog, he's a big Georgia fan. He's the host. Co-host are myself, Tiger Mike, Nolcor, Callie once in a while. And then our producer is Pac-2 Dave.
Pac-2 Dave.
Yeah, because we don't know what they are tomorrow, but today they're Pac-2 today.
True that.
So every Saturday morning from 8 to noon Central Time. So if you're on Eastern Time, that would be 9 to 1. If you're in Alaska, I'm not going to figure that one out. You could figure that one out. We have had Alaskan callers.
We did. We have.
Jordan, big Ohio State fan. Update in the baseball game. Arizona looking to come back to beat the Phillies. They're up 3-2 in the bottom of the fifth. The winner will go on and face the Texas Rangers as they took out. What was funny about the Rangers and Astros series?
They're both from Texas.
Well, not that is no home team won a game in the series.
Ooh.
That's pretty odd.
It is. Once it comes to postseason baseball, if the Yankees aren't in it, I'm baseball.
Deborah's asking a question: do we fill out separately? Yes, we do. Then they send all the pick. I provide them with the schedule, and then they send me their picks separately, and then I announce my picks. I don't look at their picks. I have my picks already done before they even send me theirs, so there's no conflict. I'm not looking at theirs. I'm just posting everything to our spreadsheet, and that's how we do it every week.
I used to post mine on the chat we have with Paul and Joe Settle and myself and Bill. I stopped doing that. I started emailing it or texting it directly to Bill so nobody sees my scores. Maybe I should put it back because I'm not doing so well in high school.
High school games, you probably need to, Bob.
Yeah. We need to get Deborah in on picking, be our guest.
Totally Travis checking in, says go Louisville. Yeah, I think Louisville's had a good year. We won't talk about that Notre Dame game, though.
Or what happened to them against Pitt. That's who Notre Dame plays. Right?
And, they come to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's probably worst offensive performance was in that Louisville game, but at least they were able to bounce back against USC.
And then Florida State next week plays at Pitt.
Most definitely. Well, let's get right back to our Gulf South Conference. We had an upset last week. You're saying, Bill, who's in the Gulf South Conference? Well, we got Delta State, Valdosta State, West Florida, West Georgia, West Alabama, Mississippi College, North Greenville, Shorter, and Chowan. But two of these teams will be leaving next year. Shorter and Chowan will be moving to another conference. They'll be down to 7 teams in the conference. Actually, there's going to be 6 because West Georgia is moving up to D1AA.
I think they're going to pick up somebody from a lower classification.
They might. Yeah. They might from another conference. But right now they're scheduled to be a 6-team conference next year. Still one of the best, top to bottom. But the difficult thing now is that now they're going to have to go out and find opponents to play. Right. With a 9-team, you already got 8 of your 12 games scheduled. Not this year. I think they only play 11 in D2. So 8 of your 11 are decided because they're conference games. Well, now there's only going to be 6. You're only going to have 5, so you're going to have to find 6 opponents going into the next
Or
season.
play home and home.
Yeah. Well, our upset last week is West Florida fell behind 21-10 at the half against Delta State. And if you know where Delta State is, you know where Cleveland, Mississippi is at?
Yep, northern Mississippi.
Northwestern corner of Mississippi. There's no quick way to get there from anywhere. So Deborah said, I'm loyal. I would just pick my favorites to win. Well, sometimes you can. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you lose.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
But
sometimes you don't.
But they go up to Delta State, the statesmen of Delta State in Cleveland, Mississippi. I've been there once before. When Shorter played Delta State, it was not a very pretty game. But this time, West Florida bounces back, scores 14 unanswered in the second half for a 24-21 upset win over Delta State, their first loss on the season. Delta State 5-1 in the conference. Valdosta State, West Florida, West Georgia are 4-1 this weekend on the campus of West Florida. They'll be hosting Valdosta State. So if you like some good D2 college football, head out to the University of West Florida this weekend. I believe it's a 4 p.m. kickoff out on campus. This is the second year they are playing on campus.
Did we have any Navarre Raiders playing for Valdosta?
We did. Elijah Melendez used to play at Valdosta, but he is now transferred to McNeese State.
Okay.
And he's actually starting for McNeese State at the Division I AA level. So he moved up in Division I. So he's finally getting a starting role there. And but your rest of your Gulf South Conference standings, West Alabama and Mississippi College 2-3 in district play. North Greenville 2-4. Shorter 1-4. Usually the bottom of the barrel in the Gulf South. That role now belongs to Chowan, as Chowan is 0-6. Your scores from last weekend: Valdosta State 42-14 over Shorter. West Georgia over North Greenville 38-14, and Mississippi College over Chowan 38-21. This weekend, West Georgia at Shorter, West Alabama at Chowan, Mississippi College at North Greenville, and we already said Valdosta State at UWF.
B.B. Brown was over at Mississippi visiting.
He has visited over there.
Tied in.
Before we go to our SIAC conference standings, we're going to take a quick commercial break because I need to take a drink of water.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
You get that little tickle, and you know you're going to be coughing, or you need that little drink of water. That's what it's going. So, pardon, I had to go to a quick commercial break because plus I'm still dealing with the little effects of the extraction. So, but let's get back to the SIAC conference. This used to be two divisions. They used to have a West and an East. Now they've all gone to one. You're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 teams in the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. And your leader, Benedict, 6-0, Fort Valley State, 6-1, Tuskegee and Miles College, both at 5-1 in conference play. Edward Waters, Allen, out of South Carolina, 5-2. Edward Waters out of Jacksonville. Albany State, 4-2. Central State out of Ohio, 2-4. Savannah State, Kentucky State, and Lane College. Lane College out of Tennessee, they're all 1-5. And Clark Atlanta, Morehouse College, both 0-6 in conference playing, and they're about a mile apart from each other, and they have not won a game. They're 0-16 overall, 0-12 in conference play. So one of them will get a win once they play each other, and they don't have to go very far. In fact, they don't even have to get on a bus to go a mile.
They could walk.
And probably
Yeah.
just carry the equipment over, and the rest of them
Yeah,
will
Clark-
just walk on over.
Clark Atlanta was listed as one of the top 20 worst colleges to attend in America. I saw that list out. I think it was either New York Times or Chicago Post, one of the big newspapers, and I went, holy cow.
Yeah, and Morehouse College has a beautiful stadium. It's a men's college, only a men's college.
Yep.
And Clark Atlanta, they have a nice stadium, but it's only all the stands are on one side, the home side. They have like a hill, sort of like at Niceville where they have a hill that they have down and over right in front of the dorms on their football field. Nice field and nice stadium, but only
Is Clark co-ed?
Yes.
Okay.
Clark is co-ed. Morehouse is not. Here's your scores from last week. Fort Valley State over Morehouse 31-3. Miles over Allen gave them their second loss in conference play, 28-21. Central State 48, Clark Atlanta 21. Benedict, the pride and joy of the SIAC conference this year, at 63-14 over at Kentucky State. Kentucky State is the thoroughbreds. They play in Frankfort. Virginia Lynchburg over Lane 45-42. Lane is out of Jackson, Tennessee. Tuskegee over Savannah State 21-14. Edward Water. Something about that game is Brady's former coach at Shorter is now the head coach at Savannah State, and the Tuskegee head coach, now athletic director, was his coach at Miles. So they played each other this past weekend.
How about that?
Edward Waters over Albany State in an upset, 31-27. This week's schedule, Virginia Lynchburg at Fort Valley State, Lane at Central State, Clark Atlanta at Tuskegee, Edward Waters at Allen, Miles travels to Albany State, Kentucky State at Morehouse, and Benedict at Savannah State. So,
SIAC. What's Benedict's nickname?
I believe it's not the Arnolds.
That would be good, though. The Traders?
Benedict, I believe, are the Lions, if I remember right. Let me check here real quick. On-air production, you got to love it, folks. Benedict College are the they are the
Traders?
They are the Lions. I was correct.
You're pretty smart.
I've been to one game there. They're based in Columbia, South Carolina. So that was one of the games we actually flew to, and that had to have been the hottest football game I ever been. Their stadium is down in, sort of like Niceville.
Yeah.
Metal seats.
Oh.
I believe it was in September, and it was like 102 degrees and no shade.
What time was kickoff?
Like a 2 o'clock in the afternoon kickoff. And it was like Miles came out listless. Somehow they managed to pull that game out. But that was one of the hottest games. I had to get up and move out of the stands just to find what little shade there was, and it was like not much at all. But one of the hottest games I've ever been. That was the same weekend that South Carolina upset Georgia. That weekend, I think it was three or 4 years ago.
In Columbia.
Yeah. So
how far is that college from University of South Carolina?
That's a good question.
You didn't see it, obviously.
No, we were pretty close. Benedict's pretty close to the airport there as you get into Columbia, so we didn't get off very, very far from there. So it's just a little geography lesson, a little bit of information. The Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference.
Good football.
It is good football, Division II football. And those that say it's not have never been to a D2 football game.
Yeah, somebody on the internet tried to challenge you about that.
They did.
They didn't challenge you. They made a statement.
Well, the statement was that we were talking about Shepherd University, where the Bears' starting quarterback, Tyson Bagent, played. He set the all-time touchdown passing record in all of college football with 159 touchdown passes in 4 years. That averaged about 40 a year.
No kidding.
He did not have any offers out of high school. No star system at all, even though he was the West Virginia Player of the Year his senior year. He went to Shepherd University. They made it to the Final Four in Division II playoffs last year. They played in the opposite side of where West Florida was at. They got knocked out. And they said that they got beat by the Colorado School of Mines. It's not mimes, it's mines.
M-I-N-E-S. Oh, not that kind of mines.
No.
Yeah.
But anyways, he was complaining, well, he got sacked 8 times. Well, he was in the Final Four, and they were a very good football team. And he said that D2 players basically shouldn't be playing in the NFL level, which that's just not worth the argument. I deleted my message and blocked him, and because apparently he knows not much about football, with a very lacking of all college football. So I was not going to get in an argument.
A lot of good players have played Hall of Famers. Jerry Rice, Walter Payton.
Yeah. A lot of players in the NFL.
And he did pretty well. I mean, yes, it was the Raiders, but the Raiders are the Raiders. That's an NFL, one of 32 NFL teams.
Yeah. Led by Brian Hoyer, who's 0-12 in his last 12 starts.
Oof.
Because pretty boy Garoppolo was out again with a hangnail. But
what scares me is some of those defensive players like Max Crosby. I would walk on, if he was coming up on the sidewalk, I would.
Here you go. Here's my quarterback. That guy is scary.
He looks scary.
He plays scary. I mean, he plays tough football. And but unfortunately for the Bears, we finally got our first home win since September of last year.
It was. I thought it was in
13
California.
months without a home win. That's.
Did they
Not
find
that your team played much better.
Oh, the Packers smelled up the place.
In Denver. Oh, wow.
Yeah, they came back. If they had 2 more minutes, they'd have won the game, especially if they'd have had the officials that we had in our tape game. Anyway.
Now it's time to get to our Irish Bill Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings for Week 9 and our Players of the Week.
By the way, that was last week. Was the game was in pace, Bob, not tape.
Yeah. Anyways, here's our large schools. People ask, well, what's large school? Class 3S and 4S. Niceville, Choctaw, Navarre moves up to number 3. Pace drops to 4 as they were number 2 last week. Mosley moves up to 5. Pine Forest to 6. Escambia drops all the way down to number 7. In the small schools, Walton stays unbeaten. They're number 1. Catholic is number 2. Bozeman, undefeated, moves up to 3. Even though Holmes County won, they dropped down to 4 because I have to give the benefit to the undefeated team, and they're playing each other this week.
Mm-hmm.
West Florida at 5, Chipley at 6, and South Walton comes in at number 7. Our Players of the Week, this guy had it. You listen to his numbers, you would say that's pretty good for a full game. Well, he only played the first half. Niceville's quarterback, Kane LaFortune, I guess the fortune
shined on him.
Yes, it did. Listen to his stats. 15 of 20, 278 yards. And what did LeBron say? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 touchdowns in the first half passing for Niceville's quarterback.
Shut the front door.
That is correct. 15 of 20, 278 yards, 7 touchdowns while playing less than one half of football in a 62-7 win over Leon.
They could have beat 100 if they wanted to.
Most definitely. Defensive player of the week, we're not too far down to the west, down Highway 98. Lighthouse Public Christian Academy. Defensive back Henry Johnson produced 21 tackles.
Good gosh.
Of which 18 were solo, and a 42-8 loss to Jay. Imagine what the score would have been without him. But defensive player of the week from Lighthouse, defensive back Henry Johnson. We're going to go over to Choctaw for our special teams player of the week. He's had an outstanding season. Place kicker Sam King converted all 6 of his extra points attempts in a 49-7 district win over Washington. With the win, the Indians become the first team in the area to claim a district title.
Good job, Choctaw.
So there are a lot of other outstanding performances from last week, and we'll post them up on Irish Bill's Twist on Sports come Thursday morning. And quite a lot of impressive performance, defensive, wide receiver play, running backs, and special teams. And, well, now let's move over to we don't often get to talk about this.
No,
Bob.
where are they now, Bill?
We say who? They're former Navarre Raiders. Where are they playing still? These are football players only. Sometimes I'll get comments from people saying, hey, Bill, well, you got this player playing soccer here. And I said, nope. This is only football players because that's what season we're in. You have one that went off to baseball. Michael Sandel, their season's done. He plays in the Houston Astros organization in single A ball.
Probably could have used him last night.
Michael Carter last week playing for the Jets. They had an open week, so they'll be back and play this weekend as they face off with the Giants. So is that a home game or a road game for the Jets? They both play at East Rutherford Stadium.
That's right.
So,
who's designated as the home
I
team?
think it's going to be the Giants will be the designated home team in that one. On the season, Michael was 6 carries, 36 yards, 9 receptions for 54 yards. So he's averaging 6 yards per carry, 6 yards per catch. So let's move over to LSU's defensive lineman Jordan Jefferson. They're 6-2 on the season, 4-1 in SEC play. They had a bye week. No, they didn't. They faced Army 62-0 last week. 6 tackles for Jordan, 3 solo, 3 assists, and a tackle for loss. This week they will be off to prepare for their week in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. That should be one heck of a game. Ooh. His season stats, 22 tackles, 7 solo, 15 assists, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack. Playing a defensive 3 technique for LSU. Temple's wide receiver Dante Wright. The Owls are really struggling this year to put points on the board. They're 2-6, 0-4 in conference in American Athletic Conference, and Dante only had 1 punt return for a -1 yard loss and a 55-0 loss to SMU.
Spoo.
And this week they'll be off, and they need a week off after last week, but they'll they'll get back on the field of play as they host Navy on 4 November. For the season, Dante, 21 receptions, 263 yards, touchdown, 1 carry, 4 yards, 4 punt returns, and he's averaging about 7.5 per punt return. East Tennessee State wide receiver Quinn Caballero got his first action last week. Unfortunately, they lost to Chattanooga 34-3, 1 carry for -2 yards. And that's his only stats on the season. They'll be playing this week as they hit the road to South Carolina to take on Furman. 2 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Huntington College wide receiver Tyler England. They improved to 6-2, 4-1 in conference all South Conference, I believe. All USA South Conference. I think I got that right. Tyler had 2 receptions for 18 yards and a 56-8 win over Greensboro. This past weekend. This weekend, they will be off, and they'll be traveling to Brevard, North Carolina, on the 4th, a noon kickoff. 24 receptions, 478 yards, 4 touchdowns, 13 punt returns for 175 yards, and a game-winning punt return 2 weeks ago, and 1 solo tackle on the season for Tyler Ling, and former Navarre Raider now at Huntington College. He's also a teammate up there with Bailey Houston. No stats for Bailey this past weekend on the season. 11 tackles, 7 solo, 4 assists, interception, and 5 carries for 27 yards for Bailey Houston as they both play for Huntington College, which we like to call Navarre North.
And one-time home of offensive line coach and offense coordinator Coach
Gaddis. So we had a lot of last week's talk with him was pretty.
It was off the chain.
It was, and you did a great job interviewing him. And next, Eastern Kentucky University running back Josh Carter is redshirt junior. They're 3-4 Overall, 2-0 in conference play. 10 carries, 69 yards, and a 22-yard touchdown. 2 receptions for 5 yards and a 35-32 loss to Gardner Webb. And that is, you know where Gardner Webb's at?
North Carolina.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Boiling Springs, North Carolina.
Okay.
We made that 8.5-hour trip
Oof.
after a Raider Friday night game.
Oh, man.
That was a drive through the night, but it was nice because we hit Atlanta about 3 a.m., so no traffic going through Atlanta. That was nice.
Did you take turns or did you drive the whole way?
We took turns.
I was going to say.
And a couple of energy drinks each as we rolled in. And then we went and stayed. We went through Asheville and stayed at my brother-in-law's down in Murphy, North Carolina. So we didn't have to drive all the way back after the game. So that's long haul. This week they're going to think about long hauls. Eastern Kentucky travels to Utah Tech this week. 8 p.m. kickoff Saturday night. For the season, Josh, 63 carries, 444 yards, 3 touchdowns, 11 receptions for 84 yards. If you have not seen Josh since high school, he's really slimmed down, and he looks really good. And they're also recruiting one Mikael Brock out of Pine Forest right now.
Okay.
So that he got his first offer. I got to watch the highlights before I go back to Mikael Brock when they played IMG Academy. That young man runs hard. And you think you're going to get an easy tackle on him? He looked impressive in that second half against IMG Academy.
We saw him front and center live at Pine Forest.
Not very tall, but he is built like a brick house, and he runs like a cheetah.
What did Brady say after the Pine Forest game? Because, Pine Forest has lost a couple of tight games. Niceville was one of them.
That was a 38-21.
Last-minute field goal by Niceville. What did Brady say?
They have a tendency to rely on Mikael Brock too much and not get their other players involved in the game. And I think that's hurt him a little bit this year. But they also got another 5-star, Jonathan Daniel, who's going to Florida State next year, one of the best left tackles in the country. The guy's like 6'4", 6'5", like 275.
Right.
And so he's packed some weight on, but he is. If you look at him, he's very slender. So he's going to need to bulk up once he goes to Florida State.
They start bottom up. They start legs all the way up to shoulders.
But last week, a game against Escambia, he said, Dad, that was one of the hardest hitting games I've ever watched. Both those teams, Escambia and Pine Forest, a 14-7 game. He said there was a lot of hitting going on in that one.
I was wondering the mentality of Pine Forest after getting shellacked.
Well, even with their strength of schedule, they're more likely going to get into the playoffs anyways. So even if they were to finish 5-5, they would probably get into the playoffs because of their strength of schedule.
I would not want to play them.
Not an easy out.
No.
Let's head over to Louisiana. McNeese State University offensive lineman Elijah Melendez got a second start. Unfortunately, they're having a long season, 0-7 on the season, 0-3 in conference play. He did start, though, in a 35-24 loss to Incarnate Word. This week they will be playing fellow Louisiana foe, Northwestern State. I believe they're in Louisiana.
Right.
7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. North Carolina Wesleyan quarterback Zachary Marquis. We remember him, don't we?
Yep.
He's a junior. They're 3-4, 3-1 in conference play. He got to start this past week. Passed for 142 yards, a touchdown, and a 34-7 win over Southern Virginia. This week they'll be at Methodist, a 6 p.m. kickoff. For the season, Zach has passed for 677 yards and 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, and he's 17 carries for 37 yards. And Colorado State defensive lineman Grady Kelly, they're 3-4 on the season, 1-2 in conference play. Mountain West Conference. He had 4 tackles this past week and a solo, 3 assists. The 25-23 loss to UNLV. This week's game, they're going to be hosting Air Force Academy, 5 o'clock Saturday night. On the season, Grady with 25 tackles, 11 solo, 14 assists, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, and a blocked field goal on the season. Next, we're going to head down to Central Florida. Weber International, defensive back Derek Percival. He's a sophomore. They're 1-6 on the season, 0-4 in the conference play. He had no stats in a 34-29 loss to Florida Memorial, the latest Division II in the state of team in the state of Florida. They replaced Florida Tech, who dropped football, which is kind of sad because that's where our good friend Chris Stapleton and Brad Leggett played. It was at Florida Tech in Melbourne. No longer a football program there. This week they'll be hosting Thomas University this Saturday at 1:30. On the season for Derek, 20 tackles, 12 solo, 8 assists, a fumble recovery. University of West Florida linebacker Devin Wright didn't play in a 24-21 win over Delta State. This week they'll be hosting Valdosta State 4 o'clock on Saturday out on the campus of the University of West Florida. Warner University tight end Davian Hardy still has not hit the field. He's a redshirt freshman. They're 3-4 on the season, 0-4 in conference play. And they lost to Thomas University, 38-26. This week they'll be at St. Thomas University. Thomas University is in Georgia. St. Thomas is in Florida. And no stats on the season for Davion. Kennesaw State offensive lineman Ethan Newman is a true freshman. They're 1-5 on the season. They have an open week. Last week they're going out to California this week to face off with Lincoln, 3 p.m. kickoff Pacific time.
Oof.
And
that's probably with a small school. They're probably not flying. That's a long bus ride, if not.
Well, I figure they'll probably fly because they're right there in north of Atlanta, so they'll probably catch a flight right there out of Atlanta out to California, and I'm sure they're probably leaving a couple days early. Then our final player, Birmingham Southern defensive lineman Isaac Cole. He's a freshman there. They're 3-4, 2-3 overall. They're in the same conference with Huntington. They had an open week this week. This week they will be at Rhodes College, 28th October at 1 p.m. No stats. Actually, a solo tackle for Isaac is only time that he's gotten on the field this year. Whew, wow. Sorry to once again want to apologize for the sound, the equipment to air early on, but we got the show off and running, and we got a lot to talk about tomorrow night on the Buffalo Wild Wings Coaches Show. Once again, we'll have Coach Hemme, as Coach Walls has a coaches meeting tomorrow night, and then I believe we're more than likely going to have Connor Matthews on for the second time. It'll be interesting. If you have not watched this young man's interview, I watched it last week, this Friday night interview with Brian Lester. Gosh, the young man is he's a team player.
Yeah.
He gives all the credit to his offensive line and his tight ends that are blocking in front of him. But he's just very well spoken.
Just like his mom and dad. Just
very precise
well.
with his answers. Mm-hmm. And but he gives all the credit to his teammates, the big Bubbas up front, and his tight ends, Jack Helton, B.B. Brown, and Jacob Crowder. He might even get occasional block from Hunter Feaster, the way Hunter's been hitting guys this year. But if you watch that game, Hunter actually was still nursing a little bit of an ankle.
Sure was.
From the Milton game. And you could kind of tell because he didn't rush as much on Friday night, so they had to change the game plan up a little bit.
Yeah, RPOs were just simply I was trying to figure out why they were not running the RPOs. Well, there's the reason. But he should be 100% for Friday night. And I will see you Friday night up on the roof. Have obligations.
We're gonna miss you tomorrow night.
I've got to be the only person, if not in America, that's ever been a former school board member, which I was in Okaloosa County, and in my alternate universe life, I'm a teacher and a member of our union. I'm not a radical person. I'm just for teachers' rights. I was selected, so we have our negotiation session. We're hoping it will turn out well. And so I hate missing because I turned down, it's soccer season. We saw the soccer teams waiting on tables in there, right, for tips. soccer season in Walton County, and I'm having to tell my scheduler, I can't do Tuesday night, I can't do Wednesday night, I can't do Friday night because of Irish Bill. Bill and I are going steady. We've been going steady for 4 years.
4 years now.
Yeah, pinky promise. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Hunnard was a little banged up from the Milton game on one of his long runs there, but he played, came back and played the whole game valiantly. I mean, his efficiency this year has vastly improved. I mean, he's only got 5. He had 4 incomplete passes last week, 2 the week before, and only 1 the week before that. So only 7 incompletions in his last 3 games. But I'm sure he'll be ready to go this Friday night. And Deborah says she's going to actually be at the game. So if you want to pop up on top of the press box and say hi, we would love to see you, Deborah. And in fact, anybody wants to pop up and say hi, if you can work your way through the tunnels up to the press box.
We had a tunnel to get out of Pace.
Wow.
Because the Pace players were getting they had just gotten out of the locker room. They were assembling, kind of blocked our way. We went underneath the stands.
We weaved our way back to the front ticket area and finally found our way to our vehicles. But
you know what would have been really funny, Bill?
What's that?
If we'd have run into the officials.
You know what?
You'd have been on your best
You
behavior.
were following us on Facebook. Coach Adams is now over on the east coast of Florida coaching.
They're in our same classification. I mean, it's a possibility.
School.
The Toros, yes. It's a possibility we could see them in the playoffs. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, anyways, we were having a discussion on our back and forth about the officiating. Normally we're pretty sheltered at our comments about the officials, but we couldn't hold them back anymore. And he said, and Coach Adams, well, sometimes you just got to call it like you see it.
Well, he watched the game.
He did watch the game. And he agreed with us.
And, you're driving to work. Bill, you don't have that hour drive anymore.
No, I got like a 20 to 25-minute drive now, depending on traffic.
Sometimes in our hour drive home, the wife may be napping. I'll throw in one of our old shows, and you go, Bob, you're so narcissistic. There's the word for the day, narcissistic. No, I want to improve on what I do.
In fact, I always go back. The main reason I go back is to see how close my statistics, how they line up with what I. And they're usually pretty accurate. I'll miss one here or there. If I look away for a second, I don't always get the whole place.
Well, home, especially at home, with Paul helping you out with. Sometimes he'll say 2nd and 3. From our vantage point, maybe.
Paul's not always accurate with that, but he's got a spotter.
He does have
a spotter. So don't put the blame on Paul.
No, not this time.
He's got a spotter.
Not this time.
And people always comment like, well, you're calling your son's name a lot. No, the spotter is giving him the information. It's not Paul that's assigning the tackles.
Paul is, and as a stadium announcer, you follow the ball.
Yeah.
And if you happen to see who gets up from the pile of humanity, you're lucky. So that's what spotters are for.
Well, I count on Paul for a lot for the tackles because I don't always see the tackles and who made them, unless it's an open field tackle.
Sure.
Because you don't know who's going to end up getting the assist, and I don't want to leave anybody out, so that's why I go basically off the public address now, sir.
So I'm sorry I won't be there tomorrow night. Can we talk 30 seconds about Gulf Breeze?
You got it.
Battle Albertson.
Wow. What a season he's having. Mm-hmm. They switched to the air raid offense, which they could not have a better quarterback to do that with. I mean, Battle had a big game last week. Let me give you Battle's numbers real quick from last week. He very easily could have been my offensive player of the week. Battle went 23 for 31, 280 yards, a touchdown, and 14 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. So he easily could have been my offensive player of the week if it were not for Mr. LaFortune's efforts in the first half last week against Leon.
So we face another potential running quarterback. We saw him against Pace run for his life. But
But we'll talk more about the defensive stats and the offensive stats for the Raiders on tomorrow night's show.
What do you expect? High scoring, low scoring?
I expect
Friday night?
I expect Navarre to put up another 40-plus points against the Gulf Breeze defense. I think if it turns into a track meet, Gulf Breeze will not be able to match the Raiders touchdown point for point. The Raiders could have an explosive night against that Gulf Breeze defense.
Most certainly.
And the Raiders' defense has been playing lights out the last couple of weeks. We say, Bill, they gave up 24. That is a very good Pace team that has been averaging almost 40 points a game.
Yeah.
And they held them to 24. Luckily, Pace could not convert a point after attempt because that was the difference in the ball game.
It sure was.
But the Raiders held on.
They could have won by 5 points, maybe.
And let me pull up the matchup between these two teams.
They played, what did you say, 16 times?
I'll tell you for sure here. In this matchup, they have played 24 times.
24.
Navarre is 15-9 overall in the series, and but that series was once, I believe, like 7-1. So Navarre has put up quite a few wins against Gulf Breeze in the last 15 years.
And both have had really great athletes. So we'll be up on the roof, partner.
Yeah, and let's look. Let's got to give you a weather update real quick.
Dun, dun, dun,
make sure that we have the weather for Friday night's matchup. Let's
Probably
see here.
A little on the cool side.
Friday night, sunshine all day, high of 80, low of 65, nothing but sunshine, and that will be a beautiful night on the roof at Bennett C. Russell Stadium.
Looking forward to it.
Well, we're going to miss you tomorrow night, partner.
Thank you for
good luck
Paul
at
for pinch hitting for Manny Mota.
Now batting for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Number 24, Mota. Manny Mota. I can't say it like Bob Shepard does.
No, not too many people can.
No, the legend, the voice of God.
And Vince Scully as well after that.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. They've had some great announcers out. Before we go out, let's give you a quick update on that Arizona and Philadelphia game. 4-2, heading to the bottom of the seventh. Diamondbacks in front by 2. After they lost the first 2 games, they have a possibility to come back and win the last 4 of 5. Nobody was giving them a chance.
Well, the family has asked me to get them some ice cream, so
I'm going to get some too. I think I deserve it after what I've been through the last couple of days.
Yeah, just don't.
It's like getting your tonsils out. What's your reward? Ice cream. That's what I'm going to reward myself. Custard here at Culver's.
That's right.
I want to thank Randy and Honey Smith for allowing us to come into their facilities every year for the last 7 years. And
great folks, military family.
Indeed, and we want to thank them.
We saw what they were doing tonight for the community. They put their money where their mouth is.
That's for sure. They've been a sponsor with us for the last 7 years. And they've hosted our Irish Bills Twist on Sports for the last 7 years. And we appreciate them and all they do for us and the community of Navarre.
Most certainly.
Until tomorrow night, may the wind ever be at your back. May it be a cool breeze. And we're going to be joining you live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Navarre tomorrow night. Paul Villanova, myself, filling in for Seminole Bob, and we'll have a couple of Raiders coach and players tomorrow night on Buffalo Wild Wings Coach Show. Until then, Godspeed.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.